let's see what happens.
Gotta love it.
Don't want to get too excited in case there's a delay and it comes up. So,
oh my goodness.
What happens?
Gotta love it.
Don't want to get too excited in case there's a delay and it comes up. So, I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Lucy, if you're listening, call me.
Gotta love it.
Don't want to get too excited in case there's a delay and it comes up. So, I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Right. Let's try that. Are we still on? Are you still there?
Yes.
Woo!
Did you figure it out?
I don't know what I did, but I pressed something.
Oh my God, I love it.
Well, that broke the ice, didn't it?
Oh, I think you know, there was something we needed the giggle.
No, we're all right, Lucy. We're all right, darling. We're all right. Don't call me. Oh, summer. A very warm welcome. And to those of you who've come back, I'm sorry there were many more who were online, but gradually I'm hoping that you'll join us. And I think this is so indicative of what's happening in our world. It is chaotic. Mm-hmm. You can't plan 5 minutes ahead. I mean, how are you feeling, Summer? What's going on with you? It's just a crazy time.
It's been a funny sort of thing. I talked about it in my session that I did yesterday, and it's crazy, you know. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm really all caught up in it. It's sort of surreal. It's like I'm just getting to the point where I'm just sort of numb to it in a way, and because I'm just deciding, I decided about a month ago, really seriously, to just be happy. And it happened because of my chiropractor. I went to see my chiropractor. And as I was leaving his office, I said, have a wonderful day. And he said, I certainly will. And we've known each other for 20 something years. And then he turns and looks at me and smiles and he goes, sure beats the alternative, doesn't it? And I thought, yeah, you know, that's really so true. And then I got home, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to be happy. I'm going to choose happiness. But, you know, how do I do that? When there's things that I can enumerate that I don't want to be happy about, you know? So I came home and I was standing in my living room and I was like, God, so how do I feel joy in my life? How do I do this, you know, where I'm really, truly feeling it? And then I heard, and I swear this was Jesus telling me, because I saw him right in my vision, said, go forth and be happy. And it was like, oh, it clicked for some reason. It was like that. It's that simple. And so I did. I just started to say, okay, I'm choosing joy today. And I was looking for all the things that were so beautiful about where I live, and looking at the grass and the trees and everything. And listening to the birds and watching the mommy birdie feed the babies, and, you know, just all that stuff. And that's it. That's all that matters. And I really started, everything else just seemed to just not matter anymore. And so I'm doing well, but I know that there's all this craziness. I'm in my dad's house right now because my apartment building had water damage and I had to move out, just, you know, because they're doing demo and cleaning it up and stuff. And okay, so I'm here. You know, I'm very blessed to have a roof over my head that I don't have to pay for or go to a hotel or anything. So, you know, that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, it's crazy times. It really is. And if you can laugh through it, like we just did with everything. Oh, except I can't hear you now.
Really?
I really can't hear you now.
Are you serious?
Now I can hear you. Okay. But you know, that's sort of like the way that a lot of people feel about God right now. Like,
yeah,
you hear me? I can't hear you. And then
Yes.
come close, and then they go away, and then they come close and go away.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like we're dipping in and out of these different dimensions or something right now. And it's affecting everything. So it says my internet is now unstable. So I hope that's not affecting anything, but I might just go ahead and I'm going to close out the YouTube thing. So we have less stuff open here. But anyway, yeah. So, and it's interesting because before we did our thing today, I was listening to your, what is it? What is this called? The Leo thing, this right now that we're in?
This Lion's Gate.
The Lion's Gate, yeah.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, I'm going to listen to that. And as I was exercising and stuff, and it blew me away because you talked about every single thing that Dr. Peebles talked about yesterday when I did the session with him. And it was mind-blowing. And this always seems to happen. And I know it's not because you've listened to anything, because you didn't have it, and you did your Lionsgate thing way, way early, and I just listened to it yesterday. Well, and I was thinking about this because you were talking about thunderbolts and lightning and all those things that can happen, but that those are very important to have happen in our life. It could be something that feels like it's disastrous and it's horrible, and it is. As you're going through it, it can be very hard, but it's very necessary. And literally, Dr. Peebles used the same example, but what he did is he said that we are on a very stormy ocean right now, and there's thunderbolts and there's lightning, and he said, but it's all very necessary to stir things up. And he says, so when the sailing gets tough, what do? You sail your very best. He said, it doesn't mean you're going to go down with a ship. It doesn't mean that you're going to drown. It means you just sail your very best through these times. And it's important to know that all of these things are very, very important to our growth. And he says, yes, there's tornadoes and there are fires and there are floods and things and people and towns and cities are affected by this and things are wiped out. And he says, but that's a necessary part of the movement of the planet Earth, and everybody wherever they are, whatever they are doing at that time, they're living what they need to live. They are experiencing what they need to experience. And and we can of course have, love and compassion. And of course we care deeply, but we also need to really start looking at the bigger picture of what this school called Planet Earth is all about. So I just thought it was really, really neat that you were talking also about the way that you dissipated the energy of an argumentative situation that was escalating by asking this gentleman to just take 3 breaths deeply with you. And that was also something Dr. Peebles touched on, was that these are very reactionary times. And he said to be very aware of your own reactions as well as the reactions of others. And he says, in those moments, he said, you can be the one who can be the calm in the storm. And think of an alternative. Take a moment to not just react, but to take a moment and think about in a creative way in which you can help to dissipate that energy, which is exactly what you did. So I thought that was so incredibly beautiful. And, but it is quite a time we're in. And I did want to say something, because I noticed, and I want to thank everybody who watched our last live stream. It was just I got so many wonderful responses from everybody. And some people were asking, a little bit more about me and about Dr. Peebles. And so I just wanted to let you know who Dr. Peebles is, in case some of you don't know. Dr. Peebles was Dr. James Martin Peebles, who died in 1922 at the age of 99.9 years old. And he was a writer, a mystic, a medical doctor, a naturopath, and a spiritualist minister. And he traveled the world 5 times. And he was also U.S. consulate to Turkey. And he wrote many books, very prolific writer. And he mostly gave away his works because he just wanted to get the word out to the world. And so he was an extraordinary benefactor to many. And when he died in Los Angeles. He was originally from Scotland, Peebles, Scotland. And he was born in Vermont, but his family originated in Peebles, Scotland. But when he died in Los Angeles, there were 100,000 people at his memorial service. Pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty. So that's who he is. And I'm a trance medium. And so Dr. Peebles comes through me and speaks very directly using my body, vocal cords, and all of that to deliver his messages. So that's just a little bit about us.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Summer. Really inspiring, touching, moving. Really. Yeah.
Wow.
And you're such a pure channel, and you're so honest and true. And this is a rare pearl, a rare gem to find, especially now, in the midst of people not knowing what is truth. What is the truth?
Yeah. Well, and truth is everything, really. It's what it is for you. One of the exercises I did many years ago was called That's True Too. So let's say if you say to me, I don't like you, and I say, well, that's not true, but I'm not really hearing you. Instead, I say, oh, that's true too. It doesn't mean that, or let's use a better example. You're not very punctual, and I think I'm very punctual. I'm there on time all the time, and I believe this about myself. You say, no, you're not punctual. You weren't there when every time we've gone to lunch, you've been 15, 20 minutes late or something like that. And I go, no, I haven't. And I argue with you instead of hearing you and saying, oh, really? That's true too. That's true for you. And I might be absolutely right that I have been on time every single time. Maybe your watch is off or something. But you, in your world, in your consciousness, in your reality, I am not punctual. And for me to truly love you, I need to acknowledge that and hear it. Doesn't mean I have to believe it at all. It just means that I need to acknowledge it in order to be more loving and listen to you and say, oh, I didn't realize that I was not punctual, meaning in your world or whatever it might be. So, there's the man who channeled Dr. Peebles for me was Thomas Jacobson. I took a class of his, and he said, I want you to write down 5 reasons why this is true. And he says something like, 5 reasons why it's wonderful for it to be winter all year round, that it should always be winter. And you're going, oh my gosh, or it should always be, 100 degrees every day for the rest of your life, and you had to really come up with things. And amazingly, you can come up with 5 things, 5 reasons why that would be the best thing in the world. It's the strangest thing, but if you really do this sort of exercise, it's amazing. So when somebody says something to you that you don't necessarily agree with, you say that's true too, because it's true for them. They're showing you who they are. They're telling you who they are. Even what they say about you is really telling you about who they are, how they're perceiving the world. You don't have to take it so personally.
Wow. That's beautiful, Summer. Wow.
Thank you.
That takes so much pressure away from situations, so much resistance.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it helped me so much because, people judge me for whatever they want to judge me for, and that's okay. That's who they are. If you don't believe in what I do, that's okay. It's all right. You don't have to believe in what I do, because I am solid enough in myself to know who I am and what I do. And that's really all that really matters ultimately to me, is that I'm doing my very, very best. I'm doing everything I can to be the most compassionate, caring, loving person that I can be. And I screw up, I do, I'm human, but I catch myself. And that's another thing that I think is so important, is that don't be so hard on yourself, especially in the case that if you do something that you think, oh gosh, why did I do that or say that? Or, oh my God, I wish I could take that back. Well, thank God you're that kind of person who gives a hoot,
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's such a beautiful thing that you actually can catch yourself in that. Yes. So be gentle with yourself, because, at least you're catching it and growing. There are people who don't care, who just, run roughshod over everybody, and they think that they're entitled to do that, and that's what they're doing, and they never look back.
Yeah.
So be aware that, you are a good person,
It's beautiful. And it's this, what I'm hearing from you, Summer, is that you're raising your consciousness. Time and again, there's a conscious awareness of what you're doing.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say that, because I've been thinking about this for the last 24 hours, I think. I have just suddenly started to realize that raising our consciousness is about getting more in touch with ourselves, with our authenticity.
Yeah.
Because when you're really united with who you are and you know who you are, and you're not afraid to express that and give that to the world, that's the most honest you can be. And I mean, when you're connected with the authentic side of yourself, it's going to be that part of you that is really birthed from God, that is pure love, that is pure compassion, that is, and sometimes being loving and compassionate means being, saying some things that people might not want to hear, might frighten them even, some of these things that you share. But at the same time, being authentic and giving of your authenticity inside, I think that is truly, growing into a, I don't know, it's where you find and touch the face of God is within you, really.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Summer. I'm just going to turn the light on because it's getting dark, so to speak. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's really profound what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, you've said so many things here in the short time we've been together that have touched me so deeply. Really?
Oh.
Yeah. From the beginning, when you said that you choose to be happy,
mm-hmm.
and that it is a choice, and you can be a victim to a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or you can say, hey, yeah, I've got another solution. I'll be creative. It sets up a whole new arena of creativity that you can't otherwise access if you're complaining and groaning and moaning and you can't access that. Yeah.
Well, and it comes down to I got really, really bored with being depressed. It's sort of like it was counterproductive. There were things I wanted to do, but no, I'm too depressed, and it just kind of was a cycle that I was in. And I thought, gee whiz, and when I heard go forth and be happy, it's like, oh, I guess it's that simple, and just choosing that, but it was really a matter of just, I got to the point where I just didn't want to be depressed anymore. And, I've spent a lot of my life, I have green eyes, and I have green eyes for a reason, because I was a very jealous woman. I was always very jealous in my relationships and things like that. And now as I'm older now, I'm 61 years old, and I look back at my relationships and things that when I was so jealous, and I would just be crushed. I would think every guy was looking at somebody else besides me and wanted somebody else besides me. And, very, very, I had very low self-esteem and that sort of thing. But I started to realize that, now looking back in retrospect, that it's okay to just let people be who they are. And I think if I were ever in a relationship again, and the guy's, rubbernecking and looking at all the gals or something, I'd be like, okay, whatever, and if he loves me, and he's here, and he's human, and, and just kind of, I have this whole different outlook on things where I don't want to have to try to change somebody or make them like me, or make them want to be with me, or whatever it is. I really just want to be with people, and I want to give them that freedom to be who they are, as much as I want to have that for myself. But really, it's ultimately, if I free them up, I've just freed myself up, because now I'm not having to work so hard, and I'm not struggling with anger and jealousy and hatred and I need to control the world from the outside in. That just doesn't work. All I can do is do it on the inside. Okay, you don't like me, that's all right. I'll go find somebody who does. It's like billions of people in this world. Hopefully somebody out there loves me.
Oh yeah, you've got a lot that love you. That's for sure, Summer.
much love. Yes. It's been quite a life.
No question about that. I was just thinking about the 100,000 that Dr. Peebles. I think you've got at least 100,000 who love you now.
You're
here
sweet.
now in the flesh.
Well,
And,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then
So
that's very, very kind. Yeah.
it's
It's, and it doesn't even really matter. It doesn't really matter. There's no need to tally it up. I think in our last conversation, we talked about that with,
yes.
how many likes you get on a video or that sort of thing, or the haters, and you look at that one hater and you got 27,000 likes, but no, there's that one hater. We must convert them.
Yeah. Come on, and it's this thing about having to convert people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's just living your life. Live your life as a demonstration of who you are, and let people, was it Dr. Peebles had the poem that he wrote, speak thy truth if thou knowest it, and let it jostle whom it may. And yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, and it's okay. And
it's okay.
You can spend your entire life trying to change everybody around you who doesn't like you or is against you or doesn't agree with you. Or you can spend the time with people who do like you and agree with you. I'd rather do that, frankly.
Yeah. And I think that more and more as we move to this different frequency, like attracts like, doesn't it, to one another. And I think that gradually there are people finding so-called their tribes, or people that they want to be around, people that they vibrate with, that allow you just to be you, love you exactly as you are.
Exactly.
Don't mind at all. It doesn't matter. Don't make a big deal of things. There's so much drama. It's like, my friend came, I was vacuuming. I've got a new vacuum cleaner and I love it.
Yay.
I like to be clean. I'm a bit clean in the house. Virgo rules my fourth house, but anyway. And it's just all of a sudden, my friend from downstairs appeared on my balcony and I had no clothes on, not a stitch. It was completely starkers. And I'm like, oh, marvelous. I went into a jump. I ran off and put clothes on, came back. He was not fazed at all. It was just like nothing had happened.
Well, you might have been jumping for joy inside. Woohoo! I saw her naked.
And I think laughter breaks through so many barriers, doesn't it? When you just get to a place where you laugh at a situation if you can.
Right. And it's a time of just going inside of ourselves. There was one thing that Dr. Peebles also shared, which was similar to what you were sharing about, when you don't know what to do, think about what you can do. And he said it could be just as simple as, bombs could be going off outside. Well, what are you going to do about that? Well, I can't really do anything about that right now, but my coffee maker still works. So I'd really like to have a cup of coffee. And he says, and when you just go to even those little places of what you can do in a given moment, that energetic shift to something that is possible, that is tangible, that you can actually put into action in a loving and light way. On your way to the coffee machine, you might do something or feel something or hear something that inspires you as to how to handle the situation that's going on. And it may, so you're really following that, connecting the dots of your life in a way where you're walking down a path of light and love, even in a very difficult situation. What can I do about this right now? Well, you can have a cup of coffee. At least I can do that. I can go clip my toenails, But there's something about that. It's like, okay, that's something that needs tending to right now because I can't tend to anything else. But what it just gets ourselves even more and more in alignment with our heart. And that's all God, that clipping your toenails is that's not a movement away from God. It's all spiritual. Every bit of it is. If we can see that, it would really change even, how we do the dishes. Like, oh, wow, this is a spiritual adventure. Yes. Talking to the water. Yay, water,
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yes, I'm just feeling what you're saying. Yeah, it's really, it's going in on a very cellular level. because it's about just being in touch with the present moment.
Yeah.
So what can I do now? Yeah, where am I being guided right here, right now? And then you can't get lost in depressive thinking.
Right, exactly.
You can't get lost in that sea of negativity or despair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you use very simple examples, because life is, in fact, a series of the similar simple examples. Clipping your toenails, washing the dishes. Yeah, it's the Zen, carry wood, whatever. I don't know the Zen saying. But it's,
chop wood, carry water.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, and that in all of that, magnificent things can be happening, you know.
Yes. And
I recently have been thinking about some people in my life who Are we back?
I think so. I'm wondering what's happened. Are you there, Summer?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. You've been thinking about some people in your life.
Yeah. Some people who I knew 30, 40 years ago. And just wondering what's happened to them. And I just been looking around for them. There were some people who worked at our recording studio. My family had a recording studio, and I managed it for quite a couple of years, I guess, 2 or 3 years. And so I've met a lot of really, truly amazing, talented people, really, really fun people. And there were a couple of people who were in this band, and they really significantly touched my life. I mean, it became for a very short period of time, but a very intense period of time. And I wanted to know what was going on with them. So I was looking, one of them I had a hard time finding, but I finally found him. And he went from being a New Age person to becoming a Catholic missionary. It's a long story about his journey, but he was, and the other one is doing great. But the interesting part of this is I started to really slow down and just think about, as I was like, I want to be happy, and I'm choosing joy. What brings me joy? And then I had all these wonderful memories come back. It's like, I'm going to go look for these guys. And so I went on this quest, and I thought, gee, I just don't know how to, they were hard to find. But when I finally found little ways to get to them, message them on Facebook or try to friend one of them on Facebook and this and that. But there was not really any response. And I was like, oh, that's okay. And I just decided, well, it's bringing me joy to think of them. So I started to talk to their spirit and say, I love you so much. And I really hope that we can be, reunite in this lifetime, because I would love to just catch up on everything that's happened and all these different things. Well, sure enough, as soon as I did that, this one person contacted me, said, it's so good to hear from you. And yes, I would love to catch up. And we did for like an hour and a half the other day. And it was so beautiful, so wonderful. And, but that's, those are the magical things that happen when you release yourself into you, and not into what you think the world wants from you, but what is it that you want in this world, and in the world in which you're living, which is in your heart, hopefully.
So beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
It reminds me of something I do actually every morning. I just think of different people that I just love, and that one after the other comes to me. Yeah. And it's just such a beautiful feeling. Yes.
Yeah. And something that I think is that we're so conditioned to think that we are human doings rather than human beings.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
we define ourselves by what we do in our life. And some people define that by having a perfectly clean house, or by their job, or, how many friends they're collecting and this and that. But really, we're human beings. And those are the things that really, so often, we're told that we're wasting time. Oh, well, so you're thinking about people in the morning and blah, blah, blah. So what? That's great. It's nice to have a trip down memory lane. And we kind of like, poo-poo all of that stuff. Like it's just, oh yeah, But when you're really in touch with your heart, you really realize how important that is and how beautiful that is. And you're what you're doing is, it's like in your inner world, you're arranging your inner house and putting all these beautiful things on display, beautiful people that you remember, beautiful situations. And you're creating this inner world where there's a lot of beauty around you. I want to surround myself with all those beautiful people that have been in my life and all those beautiful experiences. And, and another part of that is, in doing this, I also have found that I'm making even more peace with some of those bits and pieces of my life that were not so pretty and not so easy. But I suddenly realized I wouldn't trade it for anything. And to give you an example, I was in an abusive marriage. I was in a couple of abusive marriages, but I was in a really abusive one. And I think, and I was telling this story the other day, I think my husband was mad at me because I didn't put the nail clippers back in the file cabinet in the right spot. So this, of course, warranted grabbing me, throwing me down on the bed, and I'm 9 months pregnant, and choking me. It's like, really? You couldn't think of something better? Like, honey, could you put the clippers in the right spot? He had to call me names, and oh, good Lord, I mean, I just didn't realize how a terrible person I was. So he's choking me, and I literally feel my esophagus is collapsing. And I'm like, I'm going to die. And I'm thinking about the baby that's in me. But there was this really strange, because I had nowhere else to go. I had nothing I could do. I wasn't strong enough to get him off of me. So I went into this place where I could go, which was to talk to God. And I was like, okay, God, I guess this is the way I'm going to die. It's kind of a strange accent mark on my life, but okay, it's, if this is what you want for me, then this is what you want for me. And I felt this peace, unbelievable peace, love and serenity and total surrender. And my husband jumped off of me like I was a hot wire. And he went, what did you do? What did you do? And he's shaking his hands like they hurt. And he goes, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? And he just couldn't. And he walked away. And I was like, well, that was interesting. And so I was thinking about that the other day. And I realized, it was really a cool experience, oddly enough, because I had this immediate awareness that God has lightning bolts and knows how to use them. I mean, it was just so amazing to have that kind of acknowledgement. I surrendered to the moment. Okay, if this is what's supposed to be, then so be it. And God's like, nah, let's change that. It's really cool.
Wow. So amazing that when you surrendered and accepted,
yeah,
the energy somehow shifted.
Yeah, it just totally did. Honestly, I felt such peace. I felt such surrender with, okay, if this is the way it's supposed to be, that's interesting. It's sort of like you kind of are, the way I was like kind of looking around at my life and saying, well, this is the way it's going to end? Huh. Well, that's interesting. So like, this is the end of the book. And I just said, okay, God, if this is what you want, then I surrender. And I was ready. And then it didn't happen. And it was like, wow. I mean, yeah, it's just really making peace with everything.
Yes.
And making peace with that moment in this time period of being okay with it,
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. It's about finding the peace inside of you. Mm-hmm. And I love what you said, that, your inner house, what are the things of beauty that you're putting in your inner sanctuary?
Yeah.
What are you putting in there? Are you putting smelly things, or are you putting things that smell beautiful? Yes. Are you putting flowers in there? What kind of a garden are you cultivating?
Right. Exactly.
Inside.
Exactly. So, there's an exercise that people can do.
Yes.
Just to show you how much control you really do have over your life in a very, very simple way. If you just, kind of close your eyes and just imagine something, the scent of something that you really love, that scent of something. It could be perfume, it could be an apple or whatever. Imagine it and really can you smell it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if everybody can do it, but I mean, if you really focus on it and you remember what that scent smells like, you can actually recreate that scent. It actually can happen inside of you. And I mean, I can smell it in my nostrils. And for me, it's an apple. For some reason, a green apple I keep smelling, which is, I love that. That's just so fresh, And then the other thing is, so you think about some time, think about some time you looked at somebody you loved and so deeply and how that made you feel. And you just close your eyes and you just remember that moment. And then feel the shift inside of you of how you felt. You just recreated that. And so it's not gone from you. And you can always go back to that. You can always bring that back to life in you. When you're feeling unloved, remember what it felt like to be so loved by someone. So you can bring that back into you, bring that back to the surface. So you're not being, dominated by these negative thoughts and other things.
It's beautiful.
And that's part of channeling. That's how you start the process, really, is getting in touch with becoming that sensitive inside of yourself. So now you want to find your spirit guide. You do the same thing and you go, okay, I just want my spirit guide, who's really contained within me, because we're all one, to reveal themselves to me, not out here, but inside of me. How do they feel? Oh, kind of big. I suddenly feel this expansion. Or how do they look? Oh, that's funny. I saw a really big nose, or whatever. And then what's your name? And you start and you develop this relationship with the spirit guide. What's your name? Why are you here? What are you teaching me? And you make it very clear as to who you're calling up, because people say, well, what if, I conjure up an evil spirit or something? Well, don't do that. I mean, direct your attention to what you want in your life. If you're going to go into doing something like this with channeling and fear, afraid of evil spirits, boy, you can invite them in like crazy. Instead you say, I want to do this, but maybe you still have fear. But you say, okay, I want to connect with my primary guide. And I want them to know that I am afraid in this process, but I'm going to trust them in showing me through this. And you develop a relationship with your spirit guide. But as you do it more and more, you can get really attuned inside of your body. And that can translate into becoming empathic to a degree with human beings, where you might be standing in someone's presence and suddenly you go, oh, my shoulder hurts. But you kind of know it's not your pain. And then you go, hey, are you having a little pain in your shoulder today? Yeah, how did you know? I bent over and did something and I messed up my shoulder. And then your pain goes away as the empath. And now you have this conversation with this person and maybe have something you can share to help them. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So many people have asked about the channeling, and now you're really sharing some absolute wisdom here. Yeah, this is unique. We are really privileged to have someone with us. Really, it is an honor.
Thank you.
Well, it really is true. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Because you live this. Mm-hmm. There are those who talk it, but who have not yet integrated and live it.
Well,
live every moment.
Yeah, and I'm self-taught too. And my driving passion in doing this was not to become a trance medium at all, ever. I didn't want to do this as work, but I wanted to have a relationship with God, a real relationship, a tangible relationship. It wasn't enough to just know, oh, God is there and God is love and blah, blah, blah. It was like, no, I want to know, how do I communicate? If that really is there, I want a piece of the action. I want to know how to apply that in my life. I want to know it's tangible and real. And then it turned into finding out more and more about, spirits and developing a deep relationship with God and a deep relationship with Dr. Peebles and a deep relationship with any spirit with whom I was in contact, and learning from that and growing from it. There was value in it. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a lot of belief that, when channels channel the spirit, it's like, it's all about the spirit who's talking to you and giving great wisdom. And that's all very beautiful. But if you look at this process in another way, if you're thinking about becoming a trance medium or channel of any sort, it's all about you. this journey has been all about me. And what I see it as is everybody who's been benefiting from it has gotten the byproduct of it, essentially. Because I had to do the work on the inside and develop that relationship with God and spirit. And that had to be primary. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this for the right reasons. I would be doing it because I want to be all that in a bag of chips, and I want to be, and I want to make a lot of money or something, which, believe me, that's not the path here. I wanted to be of service to the world, but I had to be of service to myself first in order to make that happen in a way that could benefit the world. And I had to be clear within myself and clear in my relationship with God and spirit, not conjuring things up, not trying to force it to fit, but surrendering into it. And it's been worth it. Hard, but worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So, I mean, I see it as a form of therapy, really, is what I see it as more than becoming a channel. If you did this work and didn't become a channel, it would be very therapeutic to explore your relationship with God and spirit, because in so doing, you will bump into yourself everywhere you go, because you will discover, oh, I had no idea that, I felt God's love today, but I didn't feel worthy of it. Well, there's a block. Maybe you need to work on that worthiness issue of yours. Well, I sat down with God today and I swore I could hear him, but I doubted it. And well, okay, so maybe you need to work on that self-doubt. Maybe you need to surrender a little bit more and learn to trust what you hear, and learn how to discern between what you hear that is really coming from a source of love, or is this a trickster spirit talking to you, and getting attuned to it in that way. God, there's so many aspects to channeling. It's endlessly fascinating. And a lot of people think that channeling, and it is for some people, I'm not going to say it's not right to think this way or anything, but a lot of people think it's about channeling the masters or channeling the archangels, and you know what? For me, in the first few years that I did the work, I channeled dearly departed loved ones. I channeled spirits at like Wapatki, which is an Indian ruin area in Arizona. I channeled a Native American woman in a place called Walnut Canyon in Arizona. That was amazing, because before I even got to Walnut Canyon, I had my children who were very young with me, very young, and 5 and 2. And this woman says, "Be careful. Please hold your children's hands." And I knew nothing about Walnut Canyon. And I saw her, and she showed me that there were cliffs and things that the children could fall off of. And she said that she was very upset with the elders, and she told them, "We need to move from this area. There's no need for us to be here for protection or anything else. We need to move for the sake of the children." And they wouldn't do it. And she said she had taken an arrow and she committed suicide by thrusting it through her head. And I saw all this unfold, and I was with my husband at the time, and I told him all about it. He said, "Well, let's go find out." So we go to this Walnut Canyon. Sure enough, it's a gorgeous, absolutely beautiful place with Indian ruins you can go into and sit inside their little kivas or whatever they're called. And I'm not sure if I had the right word there, but but there are steep drop-offs, and it was a little icy that day, and I was holding my kids' hands very tight, and they have it done pretty safely now, but right before the tourist center there was this rock, and it had a plaque on it, and it says, "On this spot, a woman died, and they found her with an arrow through her head." And they said, "We don't know why she died that way, because these tribes were not combative, And it just kind of floored me. But it's like, those are the things that you can access and understand, and the deeper awarenesses in life, also deeper awarenesses of people that you might not like. It's channeling as a way to step into somebody else's shoes and understand why they are the way they are, and what makes them tick. And it really helped me to develop a deeper sense of compassion when I would channel, for example, spirits who were trapped. And I actually channeled them. They didn't possess me. Dr. Peebles guided it, but each spirit came through me in this ghost busting situation that I was doing. And each one kind of came through me and was able to finally leave and go to the light. And they spoke to the people in the room at that time. But what I learned was, what normally would have been could have been a scary, very scary situation with all these trapped spirits and stuff, not knowing who they were. One of them set fire to the person's desk in their home, and that made them believers, or the husband of the believer, that, oh my gosh, I guess this really is happening in our house. But that was just a woman she was just scared. She was trying to get their attention. She needed help. She didn't know what to do. She was lost and stuck. So, saying boo and moving things around in the house wasn't enough. So it was kind of like, well, maybe if I set fire to the desk, they'll pay attention to me, And so it's a way of helping as well, those who are trapped and stuck. We want to uplift, I hope. That's what everybody wants to do, is uplift those who are down, uplift those who are in a state of confusion,
Yes.
People have a lot of fear of the demons and Satan and all this other stuff. It's like, hey, why don't we pray for their upliftment? That doesn't mean praying that they're going to be, the boss of us. That means praying for their upliftment into greater light and love.
Beautiful. Yeah. What a different perspective. Yeah. Thank you, Summer. Yeah.
You're welcome.
It's just, I feel as though we could talk for weeks and weeks and weeks and still never get through all the work and everything that you've done to get to the place that you are at.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I would love to talk again anytime. And, I know that today we didn't really have a chance to answer people's questions because of the live stream going on.
Funny you should say that. You should say that. But many of the questions that I had on the list here have been answered.
Oh, okay. Well,
by you. Yeah, you actually answered many of them. I feel there's probably another lot more questions to come from what you've said, but I'm just conscious that you have an appointment, and I had promised.
I have an appointment in a little bit, yeah, so I do.
Okay, so there was that, but I do want to say, please, for those of you that are not familiar with Summer's work, please go to her website, summerbacon.com, and every week she channels Dr. Peebles and answers many of your questions. And for a very inexpensive, it's peanuts. You really get answers to pertinent questions that are going on in the world right now. And it's always from a context of love, connection, and the highest possible frequency. So I really encourage you to check out what she does. She has a wonderful newsletter. Summer is an amazing writer. Yeah, you really want to get her book. She's written an autobiography, The Cellars and Ceilings. Can you please tell?
Yeah, The Cellars and Ceilings of Summer. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And she writes so poetically, so beautifully, her newsletters. There are not many people's newsletters that I read from right the beginning, right to the end, without missing a word. But yours I do, because Summer's just got a real gift to bring the frequency of words into your emotional body, into your heart. And every time I get that newsletter, I'm like, oh, goody, yeah, it's Summer's newsletter. So I really encourage you to sign up for that. I'm very glad you did. Yeah.
Writing is my first love. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well,
that was very, very kind. Oh my gosh. I feel like, wow, my head's going to get so big, I won't get out the door today. You said so many kind things. Thank you so much. And I just want to thank everybody for your watching this and listening, and the encouragement that you've given to me, because, we all need encouragement. You might think, oh, wow, she's, she knows who she is and she's got this, but I love getting emails from people saying, you did great, or, just giving me feedback, because you never really know how you're affecting somebody's life until you really know. And that's the beauty of it. And just like from the guy I got in touch with, and we talked for an hour and a half after 30 plus years, And I really wondered, did he remember me? I mean, he's a pretty famous guy who worked at our studio, and I'm just Summer Bacon. And he remembered every detail of everything we did together. It was amazing. And it felt so good. Like, wow, he remembered me. This is so cool. You know, it's nice to be acknowledged. It really is.
Yes, it really is. And I just want to thank so many of you who've contributed here online. Some of the beautiful comments. Lucy, thank you for moderating.
Thank you, Lucy.
Not an easy job. She does a fantastic job. She puts up with me when I get frustrated and the technology's not working. So, you know, I'm sorry, Lucy, if I got a little anxious today. But you were wonderful and you stayed calm. And I'm really grateful for you, Lucy. You did a great job. Thank you. And April is here as well. One of Lucy's helpers here, also helping moderate as well. Thank you, April, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, April. Thank you all.
So thank you, Summer. Really,
thank you.
Just love you. Thank you for everything you've given today. You've given so, I mean, it's priceless what you've given today. I couldn't put a price on it.
Yay. Thank you. I love you so much. You're awesome. You are just amazing. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you'll come again and speak with us again soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love you.
Love you too. Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.